you know, sportsbooks tend to draw up tighter bet lines for events that get even more bettors, like championship games or major matchups. My tip? Try betting on less popular sports. You might have a better shot at beating those odds. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results. What?
How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
They won the game, and a lot of people, I think, are, prematurely writing them off. Like, I heard a lot of people say they're not even making the playoffs this year.
What I give them credit for right now, Scott, I'm not going to pencil them to win the division yet. Let's see how they do. What I give the Red Sox credit for, and this sounds like silly, I give them credit for actually trying this year.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show.
The long-awaited start to hour number 3, our third and final live right here on a Monday morning on the Early Line on SportsGrid. He is Donnie right side. I am Ben Stevens. One more hour to go and yet a ton to get to. With the host of Pro Baseball today, we'll look at a new week beginning around MLB, and we'll do it with the other host of Pro Baseball today, TV Tom Vecchio, for his prop perspective to start a new week on this Monday a little bit later on. One final look at Augusta National Golf Club in the 2025 Masters Tournament. A historic and dramatic Sunday. One we have not often seen at Augusta that ends with a career grand slam in the first ever green jacket for Rory McIlroy. Our guy, Dubsy. Dubs Anderson will join us bright and early on this Monday for one final look back at the 2025 Masters in his final reactions. DRS, so much to get to here in this third and final hour. A day off from action in the NBA before we get to play in tourney games on a Tuesday. So a lot of baseball to handicap with you, my friend.
Yeah, some good games on the card today, pitching matchups, maybe some warmer temperatures in the Northeast here as we wait, and maybe it'll rain out in situations. But each and every day that we go in the month of April for Major League Baseball, more numbers get accumulated. It makes it easier to handicap the season once we start to get to that sweet spot early May, right into midsummer. I can't wait for that to happen, but it's fun. It's fun seeing things play out on a day-to-day basis. Everybody seems like they're in it outside like the Colorado Rockies at this point right now. So we'll see how things play out, but I'm excited. The NBA playoffs, we're ready to go this weekend here. New week, new money. It's the way it is. New hour, new money, Ben.
Hey, DRS. I will just say, it does kind of seem like you are starting some anti-Rocky slander here early in the season for MLB's worst team at 3-12. What?
You see the City Connect uniforms for the Rockies? No? Let me understand this. If you show me a shirt or a uniform on the City Connect, like Philadelphia, like, oh, it says Philly, that's connected to the city. Like, I don't know what we're doing to put ridiculous uniforms out there. And thank goodness that, you know what, I rip the Yankees a lot. Love the fact that they're like, City Connect, yeah, City Disconnect. We're not doing anything like that. Like, if you were to make a jersey, like for the Colorado Rockies, purple and what, because that's what your team was? Like, just put a mountain and a skyscraper in the background and be done with it. If the Yankees had a City Connect, just put the Empire State Building on the jersey. City Connect uniforms have no connection to the city whatsoever. None of them.
Okay. Now, Mr. Fashion Police, We have seen some really bad City Connect jerseys in Major League Baseball, City Defined jerseys or whatever they call it in the NBA. And you can hate on the Rockies for a lot of things. I think the City Connect jerseys are absolutely gorgeous. Sunset over a vista, a spot inspired by one of our nation's great mountain ranges, the Rocky Mountains. And it has Rockies on it. It is very clearly defined which Major League Baseball organization we are talking about here and what exactly is the theme behind these jerseys. Again,
should have put John Elway's face on the jersey. How about that? Yeah. How about that? That would have been a better City Connect jersey. Put John Elway's face on the jersey of the Rockies. Like, okay, that's connected to the city at least at that point.
Now, I think we need our producer, Joe Frizo, to weigh in here. I feel like these were pretty resoundingly enjoyed when they were released. Yeah. Normally, City Connect jerseys are off. Like, don't even get a start on the Mets ones from this past year that were just gray.
What is the Mets?
Said NYC. And
what is it?
I don't know about this year. Last year, atrocious. A little bit of Grimace purple, though, I guess. Whatever happened to Grimace?
Do you see the Giants one, by the way? Do you see the Giants one they put out this year? Like, I don't even have any idea. Like, City Connect is might be. Pull that up. Like, we got time. We got plenty of time. We got a whole hour here. No big deal. We got plenty of time. Like, pull the one for the Giants' new City Connect jersey. Like, what is the connection to? What's the connection to San Francisco on that? That's why I call them the City Disconnect jerseys that these teams put out. It doesn't make it. Half of them make zero sense whatsoever. Like, hey, I'm going to buy that jersey. Why would you buy that jersey as a fan? Makes no sense.
I think we're getting close to the time of year where we got to fill a couple of segments. I feel like a fashion police is coming at some point this week, early for this Major League Baseball campaign. At least would be my thought. The Giants have not had great City Connect jerseys throughout their history, but San Francisco off to a great start, 11-4. Donnie, enough baseball. We'll talk that in just a matter of moments. Let's hear from the people. Regular season in the NBA now done. How are you feeling about the postseason? How are you feeling about who's going to cut down the nets as an NBA champion and hoist that Larry O'Brien trophy? It was our question for all of you in Fade the Public. Which team is the best bet to win the NBA championship throughout this postseason in 2025? At SportsGrid on Twitter. Is it the Thunder, the Celtics, the Cavaliers? Our three teams, of course, at a 5-1 price or better. Our three teams, of course, at a triple-digit price. Our three teams, of course, at even a number shorter than 17-1. Our three teams, of course, that won more than 52 games this season. Or is it another team around the association, maybe with a couple of sprinkles on some pretty steep prices? DRS, that was the question. Again, at SportsGrid on Twitter. Thunder plus 180, Celtics plus 190, Cavs plus 490, or another in the Boston Celtics, the reigning NBA champs, getting most of the public love at about 38% of the vote, which weighted Donnie right side vote in the Fade the Public poll.
Now, it does make sense that the Celtics are the plus 190 price. Most people just waiting on an NBA season saying it doesn't matter. And the odds makers basically tell us that the NBA regular season doesn't matter. The fans' approach to the regular season and handicapping on a night-to-night basis tells us that nobody cares. But now, once we start caring, the Celtics, when healthy, should be the most talented overall team in the NBA and no longer looking to climb the mountain like, oh, Tatum and Brown. They can't get it done. No, they got it done last year, and they're healthy, ready for round number 2. I did still vote for the Thunder because I do truly believe they are the best team, and they will have home field advantage, which is a big deal. And Ben has pointed out, and properly so, the Celtics do have an unbelievable road record. Don't care. Winning at home in the playoffs is paramount to good basketball and great basketball teams, and the Thunder are that. I do like the Cavaliers. There's a legitimate chance for me. They have home court advantage, and can they get to the NBA Finals, which they then will not have home court advantage. It was that simple for me. But I can't fault the public today, Ben, for saying 38% for the Celtics to win the NBA championship, because why? They did it last year, and we all know the NBA season, for all intents and purposes, really is meaningless.
It's about setting yourself up to be right back in that spot. Does Boston have home floor advantage? No. In the Eastern Conference? No. Do they have the best record this year? No. Did they fall short of their preseason win total? I'm pretty sure they did. It was 64.5, 63.5, if I'm not mistaken. Did they still have a sensational year in Beantown? No doubt about it. Do they still have a great outlook to win the Eastern Conference and be back in that NBA championship set? Without a shadow of a doubt as well. So it makes a ton of sense. Donnie, this was the expected outcome. This was the anticipated destination for Boston. They were the NBA championship favorites for 3/4 of this year, and that includes the preseason, the offseason, and the summer after they won championship banner number 18 in Boston. But the difference is, in my opinion, this time around, is Oklahoma City should be able to make some noise. And I think the Thunder are in a great position as the 1 seed in the Western Conference and with home floor advantage the entirety of the postseason, including an NBA Finals matchup against either Boston or Cleveland or anybody else. OKC will have that home floor advantage. Again, Donnie, the expected destination for the Celtics with the backed up and championship pedigree to prove it. OKC doesn't have that. But I still believe in the Thunder. I voted for the Thunder as well. Now, I do think there is a better way to play those prices than plus 180 or plus 190. I think there could be a sprinkle perhaps on both, Donnie. OKC to beat Boston in the NBA Finals at 5-1. Boston to beat Oklahoma City at plus 550.
Yeah, it does make some sense that way. You're right about it, too. And also, when we're talking about those fan favorites as opposed to betting favorites there, for me, it just might be the Rockets out west and the Cavaliers in the east here. We'll see how it plays out. We'll see how it goes at this point. But OKC, boy, that would be interesting if they did win the NBA championship. Tanking for the win, baby. I love it. I love where this is going.
Our guy, Dubsy, and his Masters reaction next.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and you know, launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
I'm still optimistic eventually this will happen and they'll get it together. I mean, if Florida can get their act together, Sam, with the tribes, I believe that California can too.
It would bring a lot of money to the tribes, which is also something they really care about. It's an $8 billion market. Conservatively, it could be even more when it legalizes. The sports books would be sharing revenue with the tribes, essentially doing all their operations and forking over a percentage directly to the tribes.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
King of the featherweight division for the BKFC, that is King Ty Stewart, who is joining us now, still the champion of the featherweights.
Though he did get dominated, he was still throwing big shots. He landed a lot bigger shots on Palomino than he did me, and I wasn't really impressed. Palomino's getting older. He is definitely a former GOAT. He has done amazing things in this sport, but it's just my time.
Only on SportsGrid.
One final look back at Augusta National Golf Club in the 2025 Masters Tournament, and of course, Rory McIlroy's triumphant moment at the Masters. We do that now with our guy, Dubs Anderson, joining us bright and early on this Monday morning to recap a quite dramatic Sunday at the Masters, and Rory McIlroy donning the green jacket for the first time. Dubs, as always, we appreciate the time. We thank you so much for being here.
Gentlemen, great to see, and I tell you what, I feel like I've just recovered from what a wonderful, wacky Sunday afternoon it was at Augusta National. But I felt like this was the storyline coming into the Masters this year. You know, it wasn't so much about Liv, the PGA Tour golfers. We know that Scotty's the number one in the sport right now, but it was Rory McIlroy in search of something pretty special, getting his first green jacket. And look, he didn't make it easy for himself at times, but then again, he also showed us that when his game is singing full hum, there's levels to it, and he is far better than the next in line. We've been waiting for Rory McIlroy to get to this spot for the last 10, 15 years. He's 35 years of age. He's not young, but he's also not the oldest in the field there. So I thought it was very fitting. And in true Rory fashion, he didn't want to run away with this thing. He wanted to test himself, and he needed extra holes to get it done. So one for the theatrics, and it just shows us time and time again, the Masters, it never really starts until we hit that back nine on a Sunday afternoon.
Absolutely so, Dubs, as you see that emotion released by Rory McIlroy in the burden that had been following him for more than a decade, and now finally a Masters tournament title to complete the career Grand Slam. But Dubsy, depending on your rooting and betting interest yesterday, we all went through the ups and the downs, the agony and the joy, all in about a minute, an hour, 9 holes, and then some in the playoff between McIlroy and Justin Rose. As you were watching the drama unfold on the back nine at a Sunday at the Masters, Rory with inexplicable shots and then heroic moments, what were you feeling? What were you experiencing?
Oh, I felt like I was in the old tumble dry. And for anyone who may have missed it, you know, Rory McIlroy had a 4-shot lead as they started the back nine, and then suddenly it's bogey, double bogey, par, wrap in, another bogey, and suddenly it's game on. We saw Justin Rose, who I guess now chalks up a third runner-up at the Masters tournament. He was right there in the conversation. But for Rory McIlroy, very impressive with this win, but also a little concerning of, you know, the way that Rory really succumbs to that pressure. And, you know, it's easy for me to sit here and say that, but it is clear as day for, you know, I guess the golf extremist, or maybe just the pundit who dials it in for one of the 4 majors at this point of the season. But Rory McIlroy really struggles to get out of his own way at times. He makes the easy shots look really difficult. But then again, as we saw in 15, when he has to, you know, bend a 5-iron around the pine straws there, 220 yards, and knocks it to 10 feet, he can make a tough golf course and a tough shot look really comfortable at times. And for Rory, I think it is, you know, a sign of what we've seen the last 5-10 years. There was that buildup of scar tissue. There was so much doubt in the back of his mind, but ultimately he found a way to get into that playoff and get it done. But it was so contrasting within the space of 20 minutes. You know, Rory just needed a par on the 72nd hole to close it out. He's 110 yards out, middle of the fairway, and he just blocks it to put himself in the bunker. He then misses a 4-footer to win the tournament in regulation time. But then he goes to that playoff hole where I felt like, you know, at that point he had to be telling himself that it's house money. I've already lost the tournament. I'm playing with a guy that I'm very familiar with in Justin Rose. And then he dials one in to a couple of feet and ultimately sinks that birdie putt there on the sudden death playoff hole to get his first green jacket. So it was clear with Rory, all that emotion coming through after that tournament. This one means just a little bit more than any other major. And for a guy who's been trying to get back in the thick of it, he's had bad beat after tough beat after bad beat to finally figure out a way to get it done. I felt like this one was the golf gods up top looking down on Rory McIlroy to finally give him that salute and give him that, that's that exclamation mark that he is one of the best in world golf, and he will be the greatest that we've seen from Europe to ever get it done once he is said done.
Yeah, the way it ended, too, because, like, more meaningful, let's just say, because you wake up today as Rory McIlroy, like, oh, my God, did I actually win the Masters here? Did I, bogey another hole at this point? But take me behind the ropes here, Dubsy, as a caddy, because we do know it is a partnership here. What are you telling Rory McIlroy when it's going well and then when it's not so going well, just to keep his head in the game? Like, we got this? Is it motivation? Is it renewing a couple things that you worked on in the past? What gives here during those rounds?
Yeah, very fascinating the way the mind works. And for Harry Diamond, who's been a long-time caddy there for Rory McIlroy, they've known each other since they've been young fellas. He said to Rory after bogeying the 72nd hole, he said, "Look, if this was a Monday and you said we're here in a playoff trying to win, that first green jacket, you'd absolutely take it." And for Rory McIlroy, for everything that he's gone through the last 5-10 years, he still shows up with that optimism. And you could see it once he got back onto that 18th tee. It was a renewed confidence. He was waiting around for Justin Rose, but it really looked like he had that ability to show us that short-term memory. Just put it in the past and say, look, I've got a chance here to do something really special. Don't worry about the bogeys or the doubles that we just saw play over the last couple of hours. And that's what he did. And, for these golfers, when they can get in that flow state, when they can just play what's in front of them, for Rory McIlroy, when it's all about golf and not golf swing, watch out. He is the biggest, the baddest, the best that we have seen since Tiger Woods. I know Scotty's impressive, but he ain't Rory McIlroy when he is on song like we saw there in that playoff hole. He's a special athlete. He's a special golfer. And now the resume matches the billing as well.
So, Dubsy, quickly here in the final 30 seconds or so of this segment, the burden lifted, and you could see that weight truly come off Rory McIlroy. Do you think it opens it up for Rory to not just get back in the majors winner's circle, but stack up a couple in a row?
Absolutely. Watch out. He's got the career slam. Watch out for the calendar slam coming up this season. Next stop, the PGA at Quail Hollow. He's won 4 times on that golf course. It forces him to move it both ways. Rory McIlroy playing with house money, renewed confidence. Watch out, Scotty Scheffler. Here comes Rory the freight train.
Dubsy Anderson, our guy as always, with a great statement on what we saw Sunday at Augusta. More on the early line next.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
I'm still optimistic eventually this will happen and they'll get it together. I mean, if Florida can get their act together, Sam, with the tribes, I believe that California can too.
It would bring a lot of money to the tribe, which is also something they really care about. It's an $8 billion market. Conservatively, it could be even more when it legalizes. The sports books would be sharing revenue with the tribes, essentially doing all their operations and forking over a percentage directly to the tribes.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
King of the featherweight division for the BKFC, that is King Kai Stewart, who is joining us now, still the champion of the featherweight.
Though he did get dominated, he was still throwing big shots. He landed a lot bigger shots on Palomino than he did me, and I wasn't really impressed. Palomino's getting older. He is definitely a former GOAT. He has done amazing things in this sport, but it's just my time.
Only on SportsGrid.
A new week begins in Major League Baseball, live right here on this Monday morning on the early line on SportsGrid. What a pleasure it is each and every day to be joined by the host of Pro Baseball Today, Donnie right side, so we can get you the most accurate handicaps and give you some of those best bets around the diamond in MLB. DRS, 2 very strong starts in the National League. Now 2 teams atop, two of the three divisions in the NL. In the National League Central, the Chicago Cubs, a very successful weekend in Southern California, beating the Dodgers and winning their final two games of the set at Chavez Ravine. Now they head just a little bit more south to San Diego, where the Padres have been unbeatable this year. The Padres are a perfect 10-0 at home in San Diego. The Padres are 13-3 this season, best record in MLB, and swept and shut out the Colorado Rockies in a 3-game set this weekend as well. Tonight, DRS, in Petco Park, the Padres a -158 favorite against the Cubbies with a total of 7.5 to keep it perfect at home. Will the Padres remain unbeaten in San Diego? Might Chicago continue its great West Coast trip?
Yeah, pretty good. Both these teams coming in pretty good form here, particularly at the plate. As you had a couple days ago, you had a 16 spot there for the Chicago Cubs. Then you just see that series against the Colorado Rockies, where I guess if they scored 3 total runs, they probably would have still swept the Rockies at that point, because the Rockies didn't score at all. Jamison Tyone on the mound, 71 batters he's faced so far in this early season, a 258 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 359. If we take a look at some of those numbers through 16.1 innings pitched, he's got an ERA bet of 6.06, an expected ERA of 5.31, so not much difference there, but he does have a lower xFIP of 4.03, so maybe getting a little bit unlucky to the batters that he's facing. If we look at that Padres lineup today, there's not a lot to love. There are high weighted on base percentages here against right-handed pitchers so far this season for Tatis, Machado, Sheets, and Bogarts. The rest of the lineup, not so good. But let's flip it over to the other side and take a look at Dylan Cease. And you might be saying right now, like, hey, you know what? This is the time to get Dylan Cease. 66 batters on the season he's faced. He actually has a low ISO and a weighted on base percentage. That is decent at 339. But taking a look at his statistics through 14 2/3 innings pitched, how about close to an 8 ERA? But his expected ERA, Ben, is actually 3.65, just about in half. And his xFIP is 3.33. So a lot of people that are new to handicapping and just take a look at teams saying, boy, I just look at ERA and Cease isn't that good, therefore take the Cubs here. He's getting a little bit unlucky at this point because those K numbers are still high, which includes 32% to lefties and 27% overall. You look at the lineup coming into today for the Cubs, some opportunities. Kyle Tucker's been fantastic, Michael Busch as well, and also Miguel Amaya, the catcher, against right-handed pitching. But the rest of that lineup doesn't look great. So you might look and say, boy, these two pitchers might be able to get hit 7.5. No, that 7.5 actually makes sense. I look more towards the under in this game and give the benefit of the doubt to the Padres being the home team. And also Cease, those numbers, a little bit smoke and mirrors right now. He probably should be less than that.
Hoping for a bounce back for a guy that has a 7.98 ERA to begin and gave up 9 earned to the Athletics in his most recent start. Of course, to end out last regular season, Dylan Cease was phenomenal through a no-no for San Diego in late July, was really good at the end of the year, then got roughed up by the Dodgers to start off the postseason, but you expect a lot better than a pitcher who has a near 8 ERA. Elsewhere in the National League West, the team with the second best mark, not even the Dodgers, it's the San Francisco Giants, an 11-4 start this year for SF. On the road this week to start against the Philadelphia Phillies, who Donnie also made a statement against the Dodgers, taking 2 of 3 against LA last weekend, and then in the week since, Philadelphia has dropped its last 2 series against Atlanta and St. Louis this weekend. Basically a moneyline pick'em today inside the bank. Who gets the win?
It looks so cheap, and you should be taking the Philadelphia Phillies, but they're in a bad way right now, particularly at the plate. A lot of guys just automatic outs. Alec Boehm down in that lineup, Brandon Marsh just not giving him anything. The power hasn't surged here yet for Bryce Harper in the top of that lineup. We'll see what happens today, but the one thing we know is Taijuan Walker was terrible last year, much better this year. If we're looking at some of the statistics here for Taijuan Walker, the issue is going to be, right, ERA, Ben, through 10 innings, or 10 2/3, is a 0. His xFIP number, however, is a 4.34, so he's due maybe to get hit. And also taking a look at that Giants lineup, which yesterday on Pro Baseball Today was my dog of the day. Down early, ended up winning that game late, which was great. Talking about the Giants, sensational numbers against right-handed pitching. Now you flip it over to the other side. I haven't heard this guy's name on air yet. Landon Raup, I'm going to assume it is. 10 innings pitched. Sure. His expected ERA on the season, Ben, 2.11. His xFIP 3.09, very manageable, and a FIP number of 1.80. This looks like a night that you probably want to lean towards the San Francisco Giants, playing better baseball right now, and I'm not so sure they don't have the better pitcher on the mound, and that's crazy thinking about a guy that hasn't given up an earned run yet this season when we're talking about Taijuan Walker.
We'll continue going around all of MLB and the NBA postseason. Prop Perspective, Tom Vecchio, next.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
I'm still optimistic eventually this will happen and they'll get it together. I mean, if Florida can get their act together, Sam, with the tribes, I believe that California can too.
It would bring a lot of money to the tribe, which is also something they really care about. It's an $8 billion market. Conservatively, it could be even more when it legalizes. The sports books would be sharing revenue with the tribes, essentially doing all their operations and forking over a percentage directly to the tribes.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
King of the featherweight division for the BKFC, that is King Kai Stewart, who is joining us now, still the champion of the featherweight.
Though he did get dominated, he was still throwing big shots. He landed a lot bigger shots on Palomino than he did me, and I wasn't really impressed. Palomino's getting older. He is definitely a former GOAT. He has done amazing things in this sport, but it's just my time.
Only on SportsGrid.
Welcome back to the Early Line, live right here on this Monday to start off a new week with a fresh start and some new money. As Donnie Rightside would say, it's the prop perspective on this Monday with TV Tom Vecchio of SportsGrid live right here on the Early Line. Tom, as always, we appreciate the time. Thank you for being here to start off a new week.
Thanks for having me. We're coming off, I would say, an exciting day of just sports all around. Obviously, Masters and insane finish there. Good day of baseball. I'm not going to say it was great. Some things that Donnie and I missed on when it comes to pro baseball today. Or I shouldn't say I missed on things. Players just didn't come through. Riley Green, what are you doing at the plate? Get some hits.
Yeah, come on, Riley.
Let's dive into today's slate.
I thought you were about to say I shouldn't say I missed out on things and about to throw your co-host on PBT.
See, I would have
right under that moving bus.
Even if it wasn't true,
Donnie,
I would have loved if he would have done that. But he's getting me. He's getting the whole point of this network now.
Listen, Donnie and I came through both with our dogs of the day yesterday. The Giants and the Blue Jays both came through with wins plus money.
Steep prices
Come on.
there.
Oh,
really putting out a lot there.
All
right
cash
there.
is the same.
I'm just kidding. Way to cash a plus money ticket on both the Blue Jays and the Giants yesterday. Vecchio, as you alluded to, regular season finale Sunday in the NBA. 82 games for all 30 clubs in the book. Postseason on the horizon. We know what the standings look like. We know our play-in tournament matchups. We know a couple of our opening round sets around the actual NBA playoffs. And now the regular season is done. We look at those NBA championship odds. It's been a similar story for the final few months of this regular season. Oklahoma City, the odds-on favorite as the 1 seed out west. Our reigning champs, the Boston Celtics, expected to be in the NBA Finals all year long. Despite being the 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, the odds-on favorite to win the East. And can that number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference actually be a challenger? That's the Cleveland Cavaliers at a plus 490 number. Those 3 teams, Vecchio, 5-1 or better. Everybody else, 17-1 or longer. What is your assessment of the NBA championship odds at the end of the regular season before the postseason starts?
Like, as you said, this is where we've been over the past few months, and there's no real standout. I will say that as someone that has a ticket on the Nuggets to win the West, not an NBA title, just to win the West, I'm kind of intrigued where they are. They're dealing with this question mark where they fire Mike Malone. They're into the playoffs. They certainly have a very tough series in the first round going up against the Clippers. But if they were to get past that, and obviously we assume OKC gets past their first round matchup, that is a very, very interesting second round matchup OKC, this young upstart team that is finally trying to make a deep push into the playoffs, versus this, veteran team in the Nuggets that have done it before, but we have this like unknown factor because they fired their head coach. If the Nuggets were to win that series, hypothetically, I'm not saying they will, it'd be a 7-game series if they were to do so. The West is completely up for grabs at that point. I don't expect the Rockets to win, a second round series. They could even be upset by the Warriors. And then if we were to be seeing Warriors, Lakers, Nuggets as some of the final 3 teams, the Nuggets at that price would be amazing to have.
If we take a look at the NBA as it does start the postseason here, different ways to bet. Certainly different handicappers have different advantages that they like to use. How do you approach the play-in series here, Tom, with these teams lining up where some of them are winner go home, some of them are loser, I get a second chance? How are you approaching this?
I said this yesterday, or I should say last night, to Adam and Brady on In Game Live. I'm inclined to just take the points and take the under in every single matchup. I just low scoring games, give me the points. If it's 5 points, like it's only 1 point for Miami, I understand that. But especially when it comes to the Grizzlies, that's sitting around 7 points or so. If the Warriors get out to a hot start, won't be a surprise. If the Grizzlies jump to a live line of like 10 and 11, that's where I want to jump in. Like these games should be lower scoring and closer. Give me the points, give me the unders.
You are seeing those totals work their way down. We will see that be a continuous theme throughout the NBA postseason. Golden State, a 7-point favorite. Sacramento, a 5-point favorite. In our 2 Western Conference play-in tourney games, Orlando, 5-point favorite. And then basically a pick-em in Chicago on Wednesday night between the Bulls and the Heat. It does not have to be just the play-in tourney games, Vecchio, to start those postseason bets around the association. We've got a couple of opening round series, 2 in each conference, of course, that have been determined. Let's start with the Eastern Conference, our 3-6 split, the New York Knicks and the Detroit Pistons. How competitive do you expect this series to be, and what might that mean for game number 1?
I think the Pistons can give the Knicks a run for their money. I'm not saying the Pistons are going to upset them, but I think this will be a little bit tougher than people will realize for the Knicks. We saw the Pistons give them trouble in the regular season. They were 3-1 against the Knicks in the regular season. Granted, some of these games happened in November, December. The last game of the season, was one of the first games back for Jalen Brunson. We have to take everything with a grain of salt, but I like the Pistons to keep this series competitive, and that starts off with game 1. So I like the Pistons +7 in game 1. It was 6.5. Yeah, it's moving up to 7. It is what it is. I think that's where they take things. People don't realize that the Pistons were top 10 in the league when it comes to defensive efficiency this year. A team that lost 1 million games over the past 2 seasons are now one of the better, I'm not going to say the best, one of the better defensive teams. I think they give the Knicks some trouble, and the Knicks have no depth scoring. If Brunson and Cat don't get things going, where's the scoring going to come from on the Knicks?
How about this series coming up here, anticipating on Saturday night? That's the Minnesota Timberwolves and the Los Angeles Lakers. Superstars starting up in Tinseltown. If we're looking at that series, Tom, any angles that you like here?
Yeah, let's just play it simple. The entire series over 5.5 games. It is sitting at -158. I know that's a little bit of juice for some people, but I really do like that. They split the season series 2-2. We have to remember that the first 3 matchups, the Lakers did have Anthony Davis. They didn't have him for the last one. Again, we have to take things with a grain of salt because these games happened months ago. But if we get to the point where one team's up 3-1 in the series, and we're approaching that 5th game, we can hedge out of this. Like we can still secure profit or just secure coming out net even, right? So I do like over 5.5. I think the series ends 4-2 in favor of the Lakers.
I like the look, Vecchio. In terms of paying respect to our guy, our good mutual friend and Donnie right side, let's put the NBA to the side for just a little bit here and focus on Major League Baseball on this Monday. Really good matchup in San Diego. Really good really good weekend, I should say, in Southern California for the Cubs, taking 2 of 3 in LA against the Dodgers. Divisional leaders in the National League Central. Chicago, 11-7. Divisional leaders in the best record in MLB, that would be the San Diego Padres, 13-3 in a perfect 10-0 at home in San Diego. As we look at the numbers today, the Padres a home favorite to make that a perfect 11-0, and they're sending out Dylan Cease to the bump. It's been a struggle so far for Cease in his opening 3 starts this year for the Padres. How do you see start number 4 going tonight against the Cubbies?
I see it going good, but not great. So ultimately, I want to approach that with under 6.5 strikeouts for Cease. It's sitting at -106. I've been on the record on the baseball preview show saying that I believe Dylan Cease could lead the league in strikeouts. I really do. He has that potential. But right now, like as someone that has rostered Dylan Cease on my dynasty team for years, I understand the ups and downs that Cease can have. He's off to a 27% strikeout rate this year. His walk rate is elevated at 9.1% this year compared to 8.5% last year. He's getting hit around, and he has a 390 BABIP, which is batting average of balls in play. He's also allowing 11.9% barrel rate, of course, only over 3 starts. That was an 8.5% barrel rate last year. So he's struggling a little bit right now, and the Cubs are a team that can kind of give him fits. They have a 10.9% walk rate versus righties. That's the 6th best in the league. They also don't strike out. It's 20.5% versus righties, the 12th lowest. They have a 177 ISO, 8th highest, and a 125 WRC plus, the 6th best. Like, the Cubs do the things that C struggles with. So he may have 5 or 6 strikeouts. He may be able to limit them in terms of the runs, but he won't be piling up the strikeouts.
Vecchio, a 10-game slate on this Monday in MLB. Our first game to start in Pittsburgh. Paul Skeens, day number 27. Skeens, in his most recent start, gave up 5 earned, the most he has allowed in his Major League Baseball career. How does he respond today against the Nationals?
I think he piles up the strikeouts. I saw a strikeout prop sitting at 6.5. I think it was minus 164 in the over, somewhere around there. I think he gets there. I just don't like the line, right? So that's what it comes down to. Like, he's obviously, the potential is there, the matchup is there, but don't bet the minus 164.
The Buccos might only be favored when Skeens is on the bump. They're 5-11 so far this season. Tom Vecchio, as always, we appreciate the time. Thank you for it here on this Monday on the Early Line on SportsGrid. Plenty more around Major League Baseball from the wonderful mind of Donnie Rightside. Up next.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and you know, launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
I'm still optimistic eventually this will happen and they'll get it together. I mean, if Florida can get their act together, Sam, with the tribes, I believe that California can too.
It would bring a lot of money to the tribe, which is also something they really care about. It's an $8 billion market. Conservatively, it could be even more when it legalizes. The sports books would be sharing revenue with the tribes, essentially doing all their operations and forking over a percentage directly to the tribes.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
King of the featherweight division for the BKFC, that is King Kai Stewart, who is joining us now, still the champion of the featherweight.
Though he did get dominated, he was still throwing big shots. He landed a lot bigger shots on Palomino than he did me, and I wasn't really impressed. Palomino's getting older. He is definitely a former GOAT. He has done amazing things in this sport, but it's just my time.
Only on SportsGrid.
A Monday around Major League Baseball, a 10-game slate and plenty to preview with one of the hosts of Pro Baseball today. That would be Donnie Rightside. DRS, right before the break, we asked TV Tom Vecchio a question about Paul Skeens. After his worst start, at least based on amount of earned runs given up last Tuesday, 5 of them for Skeens. He is on the bump again today for the Pirates, back home in Pittsburgh, taking on the Nats. Minus 220 for the Pirates to win this game on the money line. What do you think we get out of Skeens on Skeens Day 27 in the history of Major League Baseball?
Yeah, Nats let me down a little bit yesterday. 4.5 at plus 100 number for the team total. They got the 4 runs. You should have 10 runs in that game, but it's the Nationals that you bet. So buyer beware sometimes. Let's understand this. We're early in the season. Today, I have 20 pitchers on the card that we're going to be rating. And take a look at this. Number 1 on the card with XFIP minus, that's Paul Skeens at 58. Baseline is 100, so he's below. He's at 58. Unbelievable. Brad Lord, a 133, Ben. The exact opposite. He's the worst pitcher on the card based on XFIP minus. But here's also the analysis that we love. Paul Skeens' ERA, 3.44. You take a look at Brad Lord's ERA, 1.80. So something has to give today. If you're trusting the analytics on this early season, you figure it's Brad Lord, which is good because most people look at it and say, wait, minus 220. That's really high. Skeens just got beat up. The Pirates can't hit. I get you here. But if there's one guy that they're supposed to hit early in the season, it's probably going to be Brad Lord. You take a look at the game time temperatures, 65 degrees, some rain in the forecast, but a wind blowing out lightly to 8 miles an hour in left field. That's always going to help. The lineup itself doesn't ensure a lot of active at-bats for the Pirates. But again, you're trusting. Yeah. They're not going up against a dominant starting pitcher. He's on the road and maybe you should get to him. If we take a look at Skeens on the opposite side, you do have some good statistics here from that Washington Nationals lineup. But good luck with this. Like you can look at Skeens last year. He was fantastic. And I just told you, the ERA is 3.44. A lot of pitchers would love that. His XFIP number is 2.25, elite. His XFIP minus of 58. That is absolutely elite. So when you take a look at his statistics this year going up against analytically, ISO, 060 against. Weighted on base percentage, 203 against. K rate combined, about 29%. He should mow down this lineup. So if they do deserve to be a heavy favorite, maybe today is the day. But also, if you expect them to win, it might be 2-1, 3-1. But I got to tell you, a sneaky team total that's not based on the actual numbers for the Pirates, but based on what the anticipation of the pitcher coming to town is, maybe the Pirates team total might not be bad. Because what do you want to do, Ben? You want to get that number, let's just say a 4-ish? Or do you want to say I want to lay 220 when the 4-ish number is like a minus 110? See where I'm going?
Yeah, I do. 6.5 the K prop for Skeens in all 3 starts this year. At least 6 strikeouts. If you want to bet the over, you got to pay for it. It's minus 146. Playoff rematch between the Royals and the Yankees today up in the Bronx. Cookie Carrasco gets the start for the Pinstripes. On the other side, Seth Lugo for KC. Total 9. DRS, that should be an indication that we're seeing much better weather, at least early this week, here in the greater Eastern Seaboard. I had a friend that went to the game on Saturday when it was 35 degrees in New York City with a real feel of 24 outside. Windy, rainy, delayed start. I wouldn't want to be inside Yankee Stadium. Today, though, a little bit of a different story. The Yanks a home favorite as well. What do you like?
Yeah, you're looking at this, too, with Carrasco right in the hairs. The XFIP minus number is 106, which isn't bad, Ben. But look at that ERA, 7.71. His ERA minus number is a 198. Again, the baseline is 100. So buyer beware, and that's why the Yankees are so cheap today going up against it. The one thing we do always like, though, is that Yankees lineup. They can really hit. Outside of, let's just say, Oswaldo Cabrera at this point and Paul Goldschmidt against righties. And also, in fact, Cody Bellinger has not hit righties all that well. Everybody else is producing. I love Ben Rice in that leadoff spot here, followed by Aaron Judge to knock him in. You got Volpe has had some good at-bats. Austin Wells and Jason Dominguez, the young player, looking to have a pretty good season here, also in the mix. Seth Lugo is one of those crafty pitchers. I think he pitched over his head last year with the Royals last year. 880 batters he faced, Ben. A 124 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 281. This year, very good still against left-handed batters, but struggling just a little bit against the righties. If we flip it over to Kansas City side here, going up against Carrasco, I just thought Carrasco's been bad. Last year he was bad. This year opened out bad. But here's the interest. Sometimes it does take a lineup to sort of wake up at some point. Michael Garcia, decent statistics against right-handed batters. Bobby Witt, average this year when he was sensational last year. Vinny Pasquantino, a low-weighted on-base percentage, but a high ISO. But catch this. Salvador Perez, Michael Massey, Kevin Biggio, Hunter Renfroe, MJ Melendez, and Kyle Isbell, all horrendous ISO and weighted on-base percentages going up against. So maybe one of these games where you're taking a look at just some player hit props that you might want to dip into, because both of these pitchers I think can get knocked around today. And the Yankees, some people just say, hey, cheap price on the Yanks at home. Buyer beware on that with what Carrasco is showing us.
The Royals off to an 8-8 start so far this year. The Yanks just a game above 500 at 8-7. Top team in the American League Central, that's the Detroit Tigers. And the reigning AL Cy Young winner in Tarek Skubal on the mound today for Detroit on the road in Milwaukee against the Brew Crew. Detroit, as you might expect with Skubal getting the start, is a slight road favorite on that money line. What is your expectation, DRS, this afternoon, or this evening, I should say, in Milwaukee?
Yeah, take a look at Anderson, the pitcher on the mound. He's got a 2.84 ERA, which you like. Again, limited innings on the season, but a 125 xFIP minus and a xFIP hovering around a 5. You look at the lineup today, however, and say, where are these runs going to come from that Detroit Tigers lineup? I do like Spencer Torkelson. If you're looking for maybe a home run shot today, he's your guy. Also, if you're looking for an extra base hit, he's your guy. Why? 52 degrees, which isn't great, but 17-mile-an-hour winds here blowing out to left field. Now, this is interesting because it's Milwaukee. Summer temperatures, maybe 52 degrees where the windows might be open or maybe the roof might be open to help you out. So just keep an eye on that. The reason I bring that up is, Ben, some people would look at them like, oh, that's great. The wind's blowing out. Well, the dome is closed. Who cares where the hell the wind's blowing at this point here? But Torkelson, for me, still makes a lot of sense. And then if you're just looking for performances that you could dominate with, Tarek Skubal has struggled this year with right-handed batters. But check this out, Ben. Milwaukee's lineup outside of Jackson Churio against lefties, disastrous numbers, and that includes Yelich and Contreras and Hoskins and Frelick and Ortiz. So today, I do look for a bounce-back spot for Detroit, but if I want to bet just a single player, it's Torkelson in the middle of that Tigers lineup.
Come on, Spence, deliver. A couple of good pitching matchups on the card. Framber Valdez for the Astros on the road in St. Louis. The Cards will send out Sonny Gray. The Dodgers are a minus 335 favorite at home against the Rockies. A good team to bounce back for after dropping their last 3 series after the 8-0 start. Donnie, appreciate you. Have a wonderful time on the money line. We'll talk tomorrow. WNBA Draft Odds next.
Want to play roulette? Here's a tip. European roulette has a lower house edge than American style. The lower the house edge, the better shot you have at winning. Most online casinos offer European roulette. So, if I were you, I'd get spinning. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Okay, what tools can you use to measure those things a bit? And that's where you have like force plates and 3D motion and you know, launch monitors, things like that. But that's all just sort of like measuring what's happening. That doesn't necessarily explain why one guy's really good and another guy's not really good. And that's where there's still kind of like this ongoing, how do you like continue to do research to understand that better? And I think that's going to last well past my lifetime.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.
I'm still optimistic eventually this will happen and they'll get it together. I mean, if Florida can get their act together, Sam, with the tribes, I believe that California can too.
It would bring a lot of money to the tribe, which is also something they really care about. It's an $8 billion market. Conservatively, it could be even more when it legalizes. The sports books would be sharing revenue with the tribes, essentially doing all their operations and forking over a percentage directly to the tribes.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
King of the featherweight division for the BKFC, that is King Kai Stewart, who is joining us now, still the champion of the featherweight.
Though he did get dominated, he was still throwing big shots. He landed a lot bigger shots on Palomino than he did me, and I wasn't really impressed. Palomino's getting older. He is definitely a former GOAT. He has done amazing things in this sport, but it's just my time.
Only on SportsGrid.
It is draft night in the W. The 2025 WNBA draft is tonight in New York City. Of course, not a long break from the end of the women's NCAA tournament to tonight's WNBA draft. And much like last year for Caitlin Clark going first overall, tonight is the expected coronation for Paige Bueckers as that number 1 overall pick. Let's talk about the WNBA draft order. In the first round, 12 selections overall, but only 7 teams drafting in tonight's opening round because we have 4 teams with multiple picks in the first round, including the Washington Mystics, who have 3. Only 3 of the 12 WNBA franchises even have their originally scheduled pick for tonight's WNBA draft. Number 1 overall. That's the pick the Dallas Wings hold. They have the opening pick of the night first in the final pick of the first round at 12th. And of course, at number 1 overall, that is where we expect and really just awaiting official confirmation to hear Paige Becker's name called. Now, there's been some conversation. Does Paige want to play in Dallas? I still believe that is where she will be drafted tonight, and I believe that is where she will play her rookie season to start in the WNBA. The Seattle Storm had the 2nd overall pick, and then back-to-back for the Mystics at 3 and 4. If that team drafting 5th tonight, the Golden State Valkyries, seems new to you, it's because it is first WNBA draft for the newest W team, the expansion team from San Francisco, the Golden State Valkyries, drafting 5th overall. The start of a new era in the WNBA, and of course for its newest franchise. The Mystics, not just 3 and 4, but also 6. Half of the top half of the 2025 WNBA draft's first round in 1 point for the Washington Mystics. The Connecticut Sun have the 7th and 8th overall picks. The Sparks at 9. The Sky go back-to-back at 10 and 11. And again, the Dallas Wings end out the opening round. 4 teams with multiple first-round picks. Only 7 of our 12 WNBA teams have a pick in the opening round tonight. But again, tonight will be a celebration. Tonight will be a coronation of one of the greats to ever do it at the college basketball level, capped off with a national championship just over a week ago. That is UConn's Paige Becker. She's a minus 2,000 favorite to go first overall to the Dallas Wings. Again, expected, just awaiting that confirmation tonight. Dominique Malonga, a minus 700 favorite, the big out of France to be that 2nd overall pick. Of course, that is where Seattle is drafting right now. Malonga, like we have seen in recent years, Victor Wembanyama, Zachary Rizache, Alex Sarr, the French takeover of our professional league here stateside, averaged 18 and 11 basically during her time in the Euro Cup. Also, the first French woman to dunk in a game. Presents a lot of talent, of course, making the transition to the WNBA. A minus 700 favorite for Malonga to go 2nd overall to Seattle. Sonia Cintron, also up there as well. Sonia Cintron out of Notre Dame. Very talented guard for a very talented Fighting Irish team. Minus 160 to go 3rd overall. Of course, the Mystics are drafting 3rd and 4th. So more than likely, both Citron and Kiki Iriafen from USC, the transfer via Stanford, are going to end up in the nation's capital. Just a matter of the order they go. Citron, the favorite to go 3rd. Kiki Iriafen, the favorite to go 4th. If it is not in that order, Iriafen has the 2nd best price to go 3rd. Citron has the 2nd best price to go 4th overall. And one of the most talented bigs in college hoops this year out of LSU, Anissa Morrow, is the favorite at plus 105 to go 5th overall. 16 players invited to the draft tonight in New York City, where you will see Paige Beckers and Dominique Malonga, of course, but of some other names not listed with those top 5 draft odds. Haley Van Lith, the star from TCU, expects to hear her name called tonight. Georgia Amore, talented guard from Kentucky, and a couple from South Carolina as well. Tahina Paopao will be in New York City as well. Big news for Paige Beckers yesterday, as we expect her to be the number 1 overall pick in tonight's WNBA draft. She signed a deal, of course, with the league Unrivaled for a very, very big and expensive payday. So she will be a new member of the Unrivaled League. Of course, it's the wintertime league that we have seen for some of the best in women's basketball. So big news for Beckers there, and expects to hear her name called 1 of 1 first overall to add to the long-standing tradition for UConn women's basketball. That does it for this Monday, live right here on the Early Line. Show returns tomorrow on SportsGrid, 8 a.m. Eastern. Talk to you then.